Most people don't realize how healing the act of giving pleasure to another can be.
Mm.
Yes, there can be the, oh God, I really needed that feeling. But there is a deep healing that goes deep into the psyche when you're being given to and you're allowing yourself to receive, especially in your most precious, private, vulnerable areas, and especially at times when it's not necessarily a sexual receiving, but it's the receiving of massage and touch. Loving touch is very healing to the body anywhere.
You have a powerful story of meeting a gentleman called Barry.
Mm-hmm.
And when you met him, he was just after an operation for gastric bypass. He was weighing in at around 400 pounds, bedridden, and his wife lost complete interest in sex. And you came into the picture as a healer through touch, through massage and connection, and having some time with him. And it turned to be a powerful experience for you and for Barry. That healing came into your life even before you ever met Charles, who introduced you to Tantra, before you even knew about Tantra.
Correct.
And I wanted to read a little piece of chapter 3, just to give us all a little bit of a context of how powerful this realization was. Now we have a picture of Barry laying in bed, 400 pounds, bedridden, non-movable.
Covered in a velvet caftan.
Yeah. And here is what you describe. Barry had confided in me that Madeleine was not terribly interested in sex and he needed pleasure. He wanted passion. He also distressed that because of the size of his belly, he couldn't even reach his penis to pleasure himself. My compassionate heart responded. Offered to assist Barry with his dilemma, and surprised myself with my own sexual healing. Here was a penis so unthreatening, I began healing my confusing fear of them. A vulnerable penis belonging to a vulnerable man was nothing to be afraid of. This was the first time I used sex as a healing.
I get tearful. I get very emotional when I hear these words, and I've been, of course, rereading chapter 3 and reliving that time as we prepare for the recording. And I will never forget the grotesque picture of this man laying in this big king-size bed, covered, his body was covered with a velvet caftan, but I could see that his belly was so huge. And when he told me he had lost the ability to touch himself, it hit me that how horrible that must be. Because I know for myself that touching and pleasuring myself was always so pleasurable and so wonderful. And to have someone admit, I think it was in the first meeting, while my partner was out shoeing the horses of Madeline's stallions, that here was this vulnerable man telling me of his vulnerability. And I could feel my heart opening, and I could feel myself being penetrated by his eyes. He really had the capacity to penetrate into my psyche in a way that no one ever had. And so it was both frightening and unnerving, but I wasn't afraid of him. I could see there was nothing to be afraid of.
He was unthreatening.
He was unthreatening. And his wife came in and out several times saying, oh, Queenie, I'm so glad you're here with Barry. He really needs companionship, and I'm so busy outside with the horses, I don't have time.
A lot of the times in relationships, especially long-term relationships, where we deal with things like aging and health issues, changes on the outside and on the inside, sex shifts and transforms. And this powerful lesson that you're sharing with us is one that we can all take and apply into our life in a sense, because a lot of us suffer through viewing ourselves in the mirror. The changes are, inevitable. We look at our partner, they're changing. But a lot of us also have hang-ups and insecurities around sex and sexuality. And so taking sex from just being the act of sex into it being something of an intimate act, of an act of healing, where you can turn to your partner and instead of just wanting that physical contact, actually going a level deeper and healing one another, looking at making love or pleasuring each other as a way of healing those deep wounds that we all carry to a certain degree in our lives, transforms the act completely. It takes sex from just being sex and it transforms it into something magical, into a modality of healing one another. And what better gift to give your partner than to heal their deepest wounds, than to say, let me love you through, let me love you into being whole and healed and loving yourself.
Beautiful. Those are the words. Those are the exact kinds of words. And to let love in that deeply, even with someone just inviting you to let my love in to all those places that feel insecure or not desirable or not confident is a big request because we don't know how to let love in. As children, as infants, we really have never been taught. And there are key ways to let love in, which we will easily be sharing with you. When your partner says, let my love in, rather than, oh, I don't know how to do that, you'll know more about how to do that. So this was an exercise for me in letting someone in when I was very much, connected to my partner and I wasn't connecting with other men. And I certainly wouldn't think of connecting with this particular man and the way he looked and the fact that his wife was passing by the picture window with her horses and saying hi and welcoming me with such an open heart. It was all a lot to take in.
Absolutely. So up until that time, when you had this connection with Barry, when you went through the sexual healing part, you were quite not afraid of penises, but you did not have a good relationship with them.
Not 100%.
Not 100%. So can you touch on that part of how was that transformation for you? How turning the viewing of the act and the part of the body itself, how did that transform your point of view?
Yeah, very good. I had been in several, 2 marriages, one marriage before the man I was with at this time. And of course we were sexual. And I noticed and knew, as did they, that there was a hesitancy on my part about his penis, about touching him, certainly about having them in my mouth. I really was uncomfortable with that. So it was maybe 7 or 8 years after this experience with Barry that I actually went through sexual healing in hypnotherapy and remembered the childhood things that had happened with my father with his penis in my mouth. And therefore I hated the smell of them and the look of them and was rather terrified of them, even though I was sexual with men. But with Barry, my compassion was like, oh, I'd be happy to help you. Have pleasure if you can't even reach yourself. And I could tell that he really admired and loved and adored women.
There is a level of vulnerability that comes up in this story where usually as partners we have our guards up and we don't want our partner to see that we have weaknesses or we have past traumas or pains. And yet it is such a powerful lesson that you're sharing with us, that if somebody can be open and vulnerable about their insecurities, their traumas, their shortcomings, it opens something in us where we want to help and we want to help heal that part of them. And I think for our viewers, this will be extremely beneficial to anyone going through that moment in life where they don't feel sexual towards their partner, or they have inhibitions to certain acts, sexual acts, to pause and ask yourself why. And you may not necessarily have to go into deep hypnosis and figure out your trauma, because sometimes we don't remember for a reason, and it's our body protecting us. But it's good to ask yourself why, and maybe shift that dynamic between you and your partner, where you can say, honey, tell me about how it makes you feel when I do honor your wand, or when we do get intimate. And pry for those questions about how you can connect on a deeper level, more intimate level than just the physical, because that's what transforms. The deeper connection is the thread that keeps the relationship alive and the intimacy alive. And that's really our intention here with this story, is to show you that there is so much more to healing, to sexuality, to our bodies, to our minds than just the physical. Yes, our bodies are attractive and it's great to have pleasure, but there is a deeper level to uncover if you are willing to open yourself up and talk to your partner.
Yeah.
So pause and reflect on your own relationship right now. Look at your partner with kindness instead of that, everyday mundane look of, they're my partner, taking them for granted. Look at them with a fresh lens right now. Ask yourself, what do they need? Knowing that we all need pleasure, knowing that we all need a little bit more gentleness and kindness in our life. How could you give to your partner and help heal a part of them? How could you open up a little bit more to one another and help heal each other? That alone will transform your intimacy, your relationship, and eventually your sex life on the deepest and most profound levels.
Perhaps you know something about their past, their childhood, growing up. You know something about their relationship or lack of it with mother and father. And the reason you are in their life as an adult is to provide some healing to those places. You might not know what those are yet, but if you think about their past, and if they're able to have shared with you some of their childhood memories, I think it can open your heart to what they really need when they would never know how to ask you.
Exactly.
Could you just love me this way or that way? Most people don't know how to be that vulnerable.
Exactly. If opening up to your partner feels just a little bit too much right now and too complicated, we have a free gift for you in the show notes below. We've put together a little PDF called Small Phrases, Big Results, to help you start a conversation with your partner that's open and that allows you both to just sit and listen and learn a little bit more about each other. So go ahead and get that right now and start the conversation tonight.
Ooh, yummy. Good.
The beautiful thing that Tantra teaches us is that there's so much more to turn on, to passion, to intimacy than just the physical. And the key aspect of that turn on and connection and the deep passion is eye contact, is gazing into one another's eyes. And through your experience in your memoir, you share the first time that you've experienced this with Barry, who's bedridden, 400 pounds, not an object of sexual desire, yet he was able to turn you on in a way that nobody ever has. And I love this quote from you. You said, "No one has ever asked me to connect with my eyes before. I wasn't sure I even knew what eye contact like that meant. Yet I felt naked under his gaze."
There is a practice in Tantra of the deeper message of eye gazing is actually seeing God within you. Through gazing into your eyes, if I gaze long enough, I'm going to see God in you. And it becomes easier and easier with practice to see the divine in one another pretty quickly.
Yeah.
In countries like India, where namaste is the greeting, I bow to the divine within you from the divine within me.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment of namaste, I think the people really do connect deeply with the divine within themselves and each other. And here in the West, we have had no training around that whatsoever. And I realized at that moment with Barry, when he was gazing at me he was over there on the bed and I was on a chair across, at the head of the bed, that he was not only saying the God within me, or the goddess within me, but he was admiring and undressing me and adoring me and really cared about whether I was happy or not.
Mm-hmm.
And that broke me open. It just breaks me open just talking about it.
Yeah.
It broke my soul wide open that this person that I had really just met, more than the men I'd been married to for 10 or 11 years, or the beautiful guy, the cowboy who was the horseshoer that I'd been with for 5 or 6 years, certainly my father's gaze was always very cold and never connected. Mm-hmm. So this was the first gaze from the masculine that broke open the heart and soul of me.
Wow. From the most unexpected person. Right?
Yes, and it opened me up for the future relationships that I drew in. I knew how now to be seen and be accessed through gaze.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, wow is right. And for us who are in a relationship, who have a lover that there might be friction, we might be arguing, there's those little annoyances every day, that's normal in a relationship. How much different would it be if we just paused and saw our partner and connected? Because really, underneath any frustration, underneath all the little bickering and fights, is just two people in a relationship who want to be seen, who want to be heard, who want to be loved. And when we get back to that and appreciate these little things that are really back to basics, it's just, we're not telling you to spend hours of tantric sex and, and worshiping gods and doing all of these different rituals. We're simply telling you, what would happen in your life if you found a few minutes in the morning and a few minutes in the evening and simply connected with your partner and gazed into their eyes?
It's one thing to do it alone with yourself in the mirror, which is one place to practice doing it.
It's a great place to start,
It's a great place to start.
Yeah.
To go deep with yourself, but to begin practicing with your partner. And he or she may not be comfortable with it. It can make someone very uncomfortable to see and be seen at a deep level. But once you get through the discomfort, the love, this ocean, this warm ocean of love is waiting for you to swim in.
Yeah, it's a powerful start to the process of deepening your connection. So if you find yourself in a place where you're disconnected from your partner, where you wish you had more intimacy, start with yourself. Start looking at yourself in the mirror. Start connecting with yourself and giving yourself some of those good feeling thoughts, and tell yourself, I love you and I appreciate you, and give yourself what you need. And then maybe invite your partner to watch this video with you and share what you've learned and say, honey, I would really like to have this kind of connection to help us go deeper, to help us eliminate some of those fights and bickering that goes on, and really just have more of a beautiful, easy, happy day-to-day life.
Yeah, I would also call it an art form.
Absolutely.
An invitation to your partner to let's develop this art form on a deeper and deeper level, so that even in the middle of sex, we can do it and stop for a second, all the moving, and go deep with your eyes. And in the middle of the afternoon, and when you first wake up in the morning, to drop in from your dreams to, I love you. Yeah. Feel the love, express the love, boom, and on you go.
Yes, exactly. it starts with the little steps, and it starts with consistency and applying what you learn. So don't forget to look at yourself in the mirror, look at your own eyes, and gaze into your partner's eyes, and really create that deeper connection starting today with something that doesn't cost you anything, that doesn't take a lot of time, but can make a huge shift in your relationship. You can connect with another person just by asking an open-ended question. And you gave a beautiful example where Barry was looking at you and he simply said, "Are you happy?"
Yeah.
And it cracked you open. It woke something inside of you, a question so simple yet so profound. Are you happy? Talk a little bit more about what that did for you and how that changed the trajectory pretty much of your whole life.
Yes, and it can affect me the same way right now, because there are at times little pockets, let's say, of unhappiness that we don't deal with, that we can't change, so we accept them. If it's a partner who's disabled in some way, or just going through trials and tribulations, and we know that we just have to, it's just keep the love unconditional. That's my purpose here in this relationship, and that's my promise. So when someone says to me, "Are you happy?" I let myself notice maybe there's a few little places that are not real happy, but in general, I am a happy person. And I notice how often people who see me all the time here in the building say, "You always seem so happy. You always seem so happy." And there's a part of me that wants to say to them, and I usually do, I'm not always this happy, but I love feeling happy. And sometimes when I just put a happy face on, I feel happier.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So happiness isn't something you go buy in the mall, but it's something that it's a switch you can turn on inside of more happiness, it's an interesting word, isn't it? Happy.
It is.
What is happy to one and happy to another? Is happiness getting something new, or is happiness being with a friend and having a deep conversation? Is happiness being held and touched, or simply invited to dinner?
It's that concept of love languages, right? We each have a different set, a different level of what makes us happy, or what love and feeling loved and being loved means to us. And so really opening up the conversation and then saying to your partner, voicing to your partner what it is that you perceive. Sometimes that's something that we overlook, asking your partner, "How are you doing? How are you feeling about this?" Or just telling them what you perceive. "I love you so much because," or "I really appreciate that you do this," or "that you have these traits." And we tend to forget that our partners need to hear the good things, because usually when we voice something, it's something that's on a negative side. It's bickering. It's like, "Oh, you forgot this, you didn't do this, how about that?" And sometimes that's when the breakdown in relationships happens, when the negatives outweigh the positives. And so this power of words, this power of expression, this power of asking a question is a powerful way to turn your relationship around and balance the scale of the positive and negative, and really make the positive a little bit higher, because that's the key to sustaining a relationship. For one negative, you want to have 9 positives, right? To outweigh. Because think about your life. When somebody gives you a compliment, you're like, "Yeah, thank you," and you kind of forget about it. But if somebody tells you something negative about yourself, you really take that and you hold on to it, and it really affects you, right? It takes about 9 compliments for one negative comment to kind of balance things out and for you to feel good about yourself again. So it's the same with your partner. Think about that in your relationship. Think about that in your intimate relationship. How often do you give your partner a positive affirmation about something, about who they are, what they do, how they contribute to the household, to you, to your well-being, versus how often you actually say, "This is your shortcoming. You don't do this right. You forgot this," and you nag, right? So the intention here is to not make you wrong, is to just self-reflect and think for yourself, what wins in our daily life? Is it the negatives or is it the positives? And really start being conscious of bringing more of the positive in. And it's so easy. Our words have power. They don't cost anything. It doesn't take a long time to say a sentence. And so it's another tool in your toolbox that you can use to switch the energy within your relationship, within your household, and truly create a deeper level of understanding, love, and appreciation with your partner.
True. I really work with this, and because I know that I tend to have a negative side and a perfectionist
We
side.
all do.
Yeah, we all do. But
it's
anyway, I
human
know
nature.
I know I do. And so I work with the complementary side. And what's rewarding is when I remember to compliment my partner about, you're so patient and I love the way you can always, when he can say, I really needed to hear that. Thank you. So we've developed the communication where I'm giving him something he really needs, and then I'm getting the reassurance that really worked.
Absolutely.
And it can happen so many times in a day over the smallest things. Like I'm thinking, last night I was coming to dinner and he had said to me, you say in bed to read your book because I know you're really into your book, and I'll make dinner. And I went, really? Oh, that's great. Thank you. And I came in and the favorite shiitake mushrooms were kind of burned. Instead of saying about the mushrooms are burned, I went, oh, look how perfect the so-and-so was, whatever we were having with it. And I noticed in myself, you made it, Caroline. You made it to the compliment without noticing the negative first. And he said, oh, I'm glad you appreciated getting to stay in bed and read your book. And I went, oh, so much. And
that's lovely.
It creates more sweetness and more kindness and love within the mix of who you are.
Absolutely. And don't we all need more of that, especially in our romantic relationships, because it's so easy to take your partner for granted. And we all need that reminder. Just use our words as the powerful tools that they are. We have the power to turn a situation around or make it really negative.
Make it really worse.
So make a pact with your partner. Agree to start speaking to each other a little bit differently from now on. It won't be perfect. Life is complex. We have different triggers, so don't expect yourself to be perfect. But make an invitation to your partner to start speaking in a different tone of voice, in a different way, using different words. And always remember, you want the positives to be way more than the negatives. So
I would also suggest, and this is reassuring in a relationship, if you have the conversation with your partner, that if I ask you, are you happy? Which I want to be able to ask you, I'd love the reassurance that you will be honest in your answers. And tell me when you're not happy about something. I need to hear that, and I need you to not hold it back because you're afraid of my reaction.
Absolutely.
That also can take your communication to a whole new level.
Yeah. Absolutely. And a lot of the times the person is not honest with their partner because they fear the repercussions. They fear the blowout. And so also communicate with your partner. Let's agree to both be inviting to open up. And instead of saying you never, say I feel that and I would really like, and just open up that conversation into your perspective and explaining to your partner how you feel and what it is that you need, instead of the things that they're doing wrong or how they're contributing to your unhappiness.
Live and learn.
It's all about living and learning. It's not about perfection. It's about learning to take these tools and apply them every day into your regular life, so you minimize the little frictions and create more space for that pleasure and intimacy, leading to the best sex life you possibly can have. Love
relationships are the playground for learning how to love and be loved, aren't they?
Isn't that the truth? So the question truly is, how do we heal each other? How do we use sex and pleasure and intimacy as a modality, as a vehicle for deep healing and understanding? Because that truly is what sustains a long-term relationship, and what differs just casual sex and pleasure from that deep connection, you know.
Mhm.
I loved somebody was asking my husband why he doesn't have the need to sleep with other women or go outside of the marriage. And his explanation was, we are each other's home. There's so much more here than the physical satisfaction of sex.
Yeah.
And I thought it was the first time I've ever heard him say that.
Beautiful.
And I thought that was such a beautiful explanation of why this works. And that healing is a big part of that. You know, we have helped heal each other's parts through communication, through kindness, through understanding. Know that there hasn't been points and moments of deep frustration and anger and just friction, but we moved through it with these kind of tools that we're sharing with you, that we're teaching you, that I learned through reading and being exposed to Tantra, right? So I know that this is not just lip service. I know that this is not just something that we say. It's something that works. And I know for you that rings even truer than for me, because you've lived it, you know, for so long, and you've taught so many people how to transform their life. And so can you talk a little bit deeper on what healing actually is, how we move through the healing through sexual energy, and what that can do for a partnership, but for us as human beings as well?
Yeah, let me try to give you some examples.
Beautiful.
One of the first examples that comes to mind is having the sexual exchange not require the orgasm or the happy ending or the coming. To be, I loved it when I was reassured by my partner, oh, don't worry about it. If you don't have your orgasm, if you don't come, I just love tasting you, or I just love touching you. And I remember thinking, yeah, well, that can't be true. I have to have a big, because then that's going to make him feel good. And so we tend to go into the expression of fulfillment and ending to also please the partner who's just been giving. So it was very healing for me when my former husband, who had really made a practice of ejaculatory control for his own, it was the yoga, kind of something he learned in yoga, about the recycling of his ejaculatory energy and not always expelling the fluid. And I didn't know that men could do that. I thought it was dangerous. Men get blue balls, later. And when I would be pleasuring him in a way that I knew could get a man off, and he would gently put his hand on my head or on my shoulder and say, oh, honey, just slow down. I really don't want to come now. That was so healing for me. That this man I was with had the choice to hold on to his sexual energy for his own reasons. He had work to do. He had a project to finish. He didn't want to feel tired afterwards. And most men do feel tired afterwards. And that was very healing. There were very healing objectives during the tantric marriage that I was in with Charles to going outside of the two of us. And we made this agreement in our marriage vows that we would include others for healing practices and healing purposes. And it didn't always look like healing, because sometimes I'd say, you're having way too much fun for this just to be healing. And I would go through all the normal jealous, rage, anger, female stuff. And I don't trust in this and I don't believe in this, naturally. But I also saw the generosity of heart when it was my turn to receive a lot of pleasure from someone. And my partner would celebrate and say to the man in question, love her with all you got. She's my beloved. I want her to be full. And that is healing. Because most people would not want that for their partner. Love her with all you got. Send her back to me better than you found her. It's like this is beyond what we know in life to be the way to proceed. So healing takes on far more than what a nurse does for a patient in the hospital, or where a doctor does if you go see a doctor. The healing in a love relationship for others, just being in our love. Women would come and say, "Can I just lay between you two and be held by you and feel your love?" Run through me, the love of the two of you. And they totally were, that was enough for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
To just lie with us and be held by us. And we would say nice things, and, just hold them. And sometimes these were women that had been hurt and left in relationships and needed some healing. Mm-hmm. So those are just a few examples. Oh, there's so many more that I could write 6 more books on all of the healing that has taken place via the bigger love, expanded love of Tantra, of the message of Tantra.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the message really is here that everyone is different. Every relationship is different, and every love story and every love connection is different. And so many of you will be watching this episode and saying to yourself, maybe there is space in my life, in my experience, in our marriage, in our partnership, to love others. And maybe some of you are watching this saying, there's absolutely zero chance that I would open up my marriage or my relationship to anybody else. And so you have to decide for yourself. Whatever works for you is not something that works for somebody else. And our intention is always to open up the conversation, to stop judging and start being curious and start understanding what actually works for you and for your partner. So if you're looking at us thinking, this is not something for me, that's perfectly fine. I completely understand and I support you. There are powerful techniques that we will share with you that you can use with your partner to really do the healing for the both of you.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
If you're looking at us thinking, ooh, there might be a chance that I want to open up my relationship, want to open up my partnership, the one word of caution I would say is don't jump in. Do your research.
Oh my God, yes.
Educate yourself. Learn. Attend a Tantra workshop. Because there is so much more to the tantric lifestyle that you described than just jumping into bed with somebody outside of your relationship or outside of your marriage. There is a whole ceremony, mindset shift, heart opening, and energetic field shift and change that needs to happen. And so if it's something that's calling you, that you're curious about, that you're interested in, absolutely, you have our green light to go and explore, but do it in a responsible way where your relationship will always be intact, your relationship will always come first, and you and your partner have the vocabulary and the tools and the techniques to move through it in a way where at the end of your experience, your love will be stronger, your connection will still be there, and you will have no regrets. Because navigating this is a complex issue.
Very complex, and I would absolutely say that opening up a relationship will cause chaos. There will be some chaos coming through just by opening up and sharing. And I would also like to say that it's as healing for me to be around you and Mike because you have chosen, for very good reasons, not to open up your marriage. That's very healing for me. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons I have even said to Will that I feel so comfortable in the partnership with you guys is it's healing for me that they don't want to have a tantric relationship with me. I'm so happy that they don't, because I know how much chaos it can also cause. And even when you had a really good teacher and you're well trained in the yoga philosophies and practices, there's still a human emotion that comes up around jealousy and insecurity and fear of someone taking your beloved away from you. And we would not wish that for you. I would wish for you to always have the safety and security of knowing your partner is completely happy just with you.
And I'm a huge proponent in communicating openly and honestly and finding ways to fulfill each other's needs and desires in a way that works for you.
Yeah.
So if you sit down with your partner, if you watch this video with your partner and your partner says, you know, it's really attractive to me to open up our relationship, to open up our marriage, then reflect. Instead of being, oh my God, instead of being scared, say to yourself, well, is it for me? And if it is, then take some courses, go to a tantric retreat, really educate yourself.
Yeah.
If it's not for you, if you really feel uneasy about that, voice your opinion and your feelings to your partner, and then you can start the conversation of how can we make this fantasy, this need, the desire of yours actually come true but still be together. Could we go to a sex club? Could we go and just watch other people and that would fulfill my fantasy? Could I get a lap dance and you watch and that fulfills your fantasy? There's different ways to navigate these needs. And I just always want to stress, no relationship is the same. Everybody has different needs, different dynamics between people, and also it changes in different stages of life, right?
Yeah.
So I said it before, but I'll say it again. Turn that judgment into curiosity. Instead of jumping to conclusions, being like, oh, I would never, or that's not for me. Open your heart and open your mind and listen to the other point of view. That's what I love about you. Your book, when I first read it, I read it in 2 days. I could not peel myself off of it because it was something I've never been exposed to. I've never met anyone who was so open and so unafraid to just love and be loved and just pursue her dreams. And so for me, that was a beautiful lesson. But if I was looking at you with judgment, I would probably have stopped reading in the first chapter. You know? Right. And instead I got powerful, beautiful lessons that I can apply in my life in a way that works for me. And I love being open to different possibilities and watching and experiencing different things from a perspective that is completely different than mine. And I do love that dynamic about us, that we are not judgmental, we're just curious.
Yeah. And I think just inquiring, you use the word curiosity. If your partner does say, yeah, I really have had a fantasy of opening up our marriage to include her or him or others or them or whomever, why? What is it that you feel you're going to get from that?
Exactly.
Really inquire to their needs, because there really can be a solution to their needs that means you should give them the space to open up, or it's really not going to be it's not going to work for you guys. And it's hard to make it work. It's a lot more, a relationship is a lot of work as it is at times, but to include others makes it a whole nother ball game of emotional work.
Absolutely.
So I don't recommend it. I don't.
Yeah.
I have not chosen to live that way again in this last 25-year relationship. By choice, we both give each other total freedom. But my words to him are: if you choose to take your freedom, there will be chaos when you get home. And I know it already, even though I know, of course, you're free to do whatever you feel you need to do. But I know myself now, and I will have a fit.
Powerful lesson for all of us.
Be honest about it. It is very much in the news, so to speak. Your friends are talking about it. And for some people, it's really cool to open up with others. But it is more work. If you think a relationship is a lot of work, imagine having 2 or 3 of them going on at the same time.
Absolutely. So if you're watching this thinking you want to open up your relationship, you want to experiment, go to modernlifetantra.com and hit the contact button and email us. We can walk you through, we can coach you, we can counsel you through and help you navigate the waters of opening up your marriage or your relationship to a tantric lifestyle. And you will feel supported and ensure that you and your partner are the priority in this process, not somebody else. Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And if you're watching this video saying, whoa, that is not for me, let's move into some of the
Okay.
techniques that partners, monogamous partners, can include in their love life, in their daily life, to really help them through and do some of that healing work together. Because a lot of us go through life having trauma, having some sort of pain or insecurity about, the sexuality in us and the sexual body.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite tools, and again, it's back to basics, it doesn't cost anything, it doesn't have to be a lot of time, is laying with your partner on the bed and just holding them from behind and just moving into that space. So could you teach us how to navigate that technique and how it can help us in getting some healing?
Well, one of the healing parts of that technique with your body one-to-one with your partner, if the man is behind you, let's say, and you're all cuddled up with your backside to his front side, most women are aware of his wand pressing against their bottom, and most men are aware. She feels so good to me, the warmth of her, and often the erection wants to do what it wants to do. And so it's really healing when the man reassures the woman, honey, I know I'm getting an erection, and don't feel like there's anything you have to do about it.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
This is about nurturing and about meditating and quieting our minds together and connecting the energy through our chakras, through our energy centers. And my erection will come and go like it always does. It's got a mind of its own. And it's relieving, it's very healing for a woman to be relieved of feeling responsible.
Yeah.
For, oh my God, I should take care of him.
Yeah.
Things like that are very reassuring. That, no, I can take care of myself and I don't need it taken care of right now.
Yeah.
I love hearing that from a man.
Yeah, absolutely. We all do. And it's a position, we call it like spooning in North America, right? But this is so much more than that. It's you connect your breath, you sync your breath, you really send each other positive, loving, reinforcing energy. And that's what it's all about. And one of the reasons I really love this technique is it's a great way to dissolve an argument or a frustration, and the person who might be the one who's charged would be the recipient. So the other person would be the one holding them from behind, hand on the heart, breathing together, and just maybe even if you can say some reassuring words like, I love you, it's okay, we're going to get through this together, right? Like those are the things that no matter how frustrated you are with your partner, if they offer you this form of connection, how could you stay mad at them? It dissolves all of that frustration and friction. So even in a long-term relationship, even if you think that you're way, over frustrated with your partner, there are ways to start peeling off those layers of old programming and conditioning and start uncovering that gentle side of you and the gentle connection that you have with your partner. Because you fell in love for a reason. There was some kind of a healing that your souls were looking for, that you saw in each other, right? We are mirrors to one another. And so no matter how long you've been together, there's always that piece that connected you in the first place. And it's quite beautiful to start uncovering it again.
Yeah, in that spooning meditation that we're talking about that's so healing, it's also a good idea if it's in sync with your imagery being at the same center. Like let's begin with heart centers, like the man is behind, so he's breathing out into the back of your heart while you take in his breath to your heart, and then you send back into his heart. So then you spend a minute or two at the heart center, and then you come up to the throat center, because you're not going to talk, but you're just going to breathe into and out through that center. And then you come up to the mental center, to the mind, and the mind is like a river, a stream of energy flowing into the back of the partner's head. And as the partner breathes out, they're flowing back to you. So your minds come into a harmonic, as if you were tuning an instrument, which indeed you are. You're fine-tuning the instrument of each other.
That is your relationship.
that is your relationship.
Yeah.
And then and so it's about kind of paying attention to these chakra centers, these energy centers, and you come down below the heart center and you do the same thing with the belly. Like when you breathe in, your belly fills up and the person in front feels the fullness of your belly. And then you drop down and the sexual energy can flow back and forth without any activity at all. And then you finally, at the end of the meditation, kind of drop back into the heart center and relax the breathing, but you're hearing each other breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something very comforting about paying attention to the other person's breath and syncing it with your own.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. A lot of the times we hear the complaints of couples. The man will say, my wife is not into sex. She's not interested.
Right.
And the woman will say, I just don't get turned on. And the tools that we offer you here are an invitation to start changing that dynamic, because it's not all about just the physical. We are really tapping into the connection that goes beyond the physical and starts turning you on by healing you, by connecting you, by creating that connection that is beyond the physical body.
So arousal is probably the key that's missing for that wife of yours who isn't interested in sex, simply because she isn't getting aroused. And what a man knows about sex is not necessarily about arousal. A man knows what he wants in sex, what he discovers about his sexuality alone in his bed at night when he's a boy. But when he gets into a relationship with you, it's a whole different thing. So I think learning the art of arousal, just simply ask the woman and do some things with her. Everything from complimenting, I love that blouse on you. It's just so flattering to you. She loves compliments. She loves a little kiss behind her ear, on her neck when she's cleaning up the kitchen. She loves that you will give her the invitation to keep reading your book or doing what you're doing, honey. I'll make dinner tonight. Those things arouse a woman. It may not seem like sexual arousal, but sexual arousal is for a woman everywhere. So the sweet things you do, the compliments you give, the unnecessary bringing home of a flower.
Absolutely.
Not because it's your anniversary, but because it's Thursday. Well, honey, why'd you bring me a flower? Well, it's Thursday and I'm loving you so much. It's the little things.
It's really the little things. And women do open up like a flower when they're touched in a way, when they're treated in a way that really is needed for that arousal to happen. And we have a powerful technique, an invitation to practice divine touch with your partner. And all you need is 15 minutes. We have a free PDF download for you in the show notes below that will guide you step by step on how to give the divine touch yoni massage. And it's a space for your woman to do just that, to have no responsibilities. There's no necessity to come or perform. There is just enjoyment. It's just 15 minutes for her to enjoy your touch, to enjoy your presence, to enjoy your undivided attention.
Right. And your compliments. Yonis are funny. They really have a mind of their own, and they really aren't always sure of themselves. And so whether you're looking at our yoni or touching our yoni, and we're lying there with our legs open for this 15-minute divine touch massage, there's always an expectation within us as women to get aroused or have an orgasm, and you're hoping that we will, and we can tell that you're hoping that we will. And as soon as we can tell that you're hoping that we will get an orgasm or go, oh my God, and all those sort of sexy things, we might not. We just might want to enjoy the fact that we're receiving your touch and your attention for that period of time. So no agenda is key here.
Absolutely. You know, life gets crazy. It's busy. We all have responsibilities. And sometimes getting turned on is not the easiest thing for a woman,
Right.
depending on the time of the month she's in during her cycle, her hormone levels, her responsibilities, her workload. All those things play a role. And for men, I'm generalizing now, it's a little bit easier to get in the mood and get turned on and just enjoy themselves, right? And so that's why we're inviting you to take this divine touch challenge and give your woman this powerful, beautiful yoni massage. It's 15 minutes a day. Anyone has 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And see how much your love life transforms. It's a beautiful way to connect and to give pleasure and to also deepen your connection and intimacy, and which leads to a beautiful sex life.
And I want to just say that if you can do the 15-minute yoni massage offering for your woman without the expectation that there needs to be sex afterwards, let her come to you. Let her circle around and feel your touch for the next hour or so, and then come back to you at the end of that program you were going to watch and say, okay, honey, I think I feel like I'd like to go further with that. We are really... We're very subtle in how arousal looks to us. I mean, we don't have the up and the down, erect and soft response. So, and at different ages, oh my God, it all changes to hormonal levels. If the testosterone is running low in women, it will be very difficult for her to feel a lot of arousal. And same for the men. As testosterone levels drop, the erections aren't as frequent and as hard and as long.
Yeah, absolutely.
So check your hormone levels.
Check your hormone levels, communicate, do some breathing exercises, gaze into each other's eyes, and give each other touch that's sensual and healing, and will transform your connection.
Love that. Yes. Thank you.
I love your saying, that is, let love in. Let love in. See the opportunity. Open yourself up. Imagine for a moment what would happen if you allowed yourself to have the love that you want and need and desire. If you were able to communicate your needs and wants to your partner, and they were open enough to do that for you and then reciprocate with their needs and wants, how would that shift and change your relationship? A lot of the times we look at our relationship and think there's nothing more we can do. I've heard it so many times. Oh, we've been together for too long. It's already what it is. There's nothing else. But if you're alive, if you're breathing, if you woke up today, it's an opportunity to change something. And if you want something different, then change it. Today we've offered you many different techniques, many different things to look at, to explore. Sometimes it only takes one sentence. Sometimes it only takes one idea to change everything for you. It sparks something in you, and then you go and research and experiment, and your whole reality shifts. So just think back to what could that be for you today. And with us, we always believe in integration. When you learn something, when something speaks to you, apply it in your life. Take that piece of information, take that little gem and apply it in your life in the smallest way, but apply it. Just kind of like keeping the momentum alive. So what could we do to take everything we've learned today, everything we've talked about, and integrate it into our daily lives? What are some of those things that you would suggest to us?
When opportunity knocks, open the door. You don't have to walk through the door, but at least look and see what's on the other side of the door. Because I'm realizing from all of this recapping of what's in my memoir and books that I read when I was 14, and I'm realizing that there were so many times when opportunity knocked, and I have a curiosity inside of me that I would at least peek around and see what does that opportunity have to offer. So we are offering you a lot of opportunities, and they are healing, even though they may seem not sexy enough, or I couldn't do that. Well, of course you can do anything. I can assure you that you can do anything. And what we're suggesting that you try is just to try it. and see how it feels.
Mhm.
And you don't have to do it again, but we're suggesting things that will give you more opportunity to find the love that you are, and the love that within your partner, and the love within your kids, and love from your pets, to take the love in rather
I
than
love that.
just reject it and pass it back.
Mhm.
Really take it in. It's yours as an offering to you.
Absolutely. You know, a lot of the times we feel like love and passion and intimacy have to be grand gestures and hours of, sessions and paying attention, when it really is in the details and the smallest of things, like touching your partner, connecting, saying words of affirmation. And sometimes it's not even about going all the way. It is just about peeking in and trying something and seeing, is it for us?
Yeah.
And creating a fun thing out of it, instead of having such seriousness about sex and love and passion. Make it into a game. Look at all of these things that we present and say, could we try it? Let's see.
Right. What would
And
happen if
give
we
yourself the freedom to, if we don't like it, we don't do it again. But let's see if we like it.
Yeah, at
Right?
least talk about it.
Yeah. The key is to always turn towards your partner instead of away from them. In a relationship, there needs to be an open communication, open energy. And the more you can turn towards your partner and communicate your needs, communicate your wants, and really work it out together, the better your relationship will be long term, and the deeper your passion will be, and the more satisfied you'll be.
Yes, we want that for you.
Absolutely. So go ahead and have fun. Turn to your partner. Watch this video together. Go on to modernlovetantra.com. Check out our free resources. We have numerous blogs to educate you on this stuff. Subscribe to our channel. Watch these videos instead of watching Netflix every night. And put some of these beautiful, powerful techniques into practice and transform your relationship.
And know that there is more to come.
Always.
Oh.